So I would like to put forth my case for a fifth law of thermodynamics, or actually that thermodynamics has multiple laws and that we only know 4 of them or accept 4 of them. But to begin with their expansion, we should include a fifth law which exists actually before the second law can exist. So I would like to put forth to my subscribers, and I've also sent an essay with basically this very same speech to the physics department of Oxford University, because I believe it is a valid point. Whether it belongs within the categories of the laws of thermodynamics or not officially, or that should be changed, it's not up to me, it's up to the Royal Society and up to the world of scientists. But I believe that the current use of the 4 laws of thermodynamics is causing a skewed perspective that is limiting our ability to understand the behavior of energy, because thermodynamics and the 4 laws which we purport to understand, and which many think are the only laws which exist that control the behavior of energy, is too limited. So I'd like to put forth my suggestion, which is, I'll first give what was the abstract of the essay, that the laws of thermodynamics, they've stood as basically the heart and the cornerstone of scientific understanding of energy, of human understanding of energy, right? And its behavior, mainly its behavior, the behavior of energy, and how its behavior changes according to thermodynamics, what we call thermodynamics. But taking this into consideration, as our knowledge of the universe expands and becomes more, we increase our knowledge about physics and astrophysics and creation, it's become evident that the existing 4 laws which we have, no way do they fully capture all the intricacies of energy dynamics, of the dynamics of energy behavior. And so I think I have a pretty compelling argument to add a 5th law in order to destroy the skewed view that many scientists have, believing in entropy but not believing in order, and believing in chaos but not order, that all things fall apart and move towards dissolution and entropy, but they don't see that things have to have been constructed and made orderly in order for them to fall apart and be made disorderly. So I would say that we need a 5th law of thermodynamics, to provide a much more comprehensive and wider, complete viewpoint and a perspective on the fundamental principles that govern our universe and the behavior of energy within this universe, of the material universe. What people think is immaterial, like infrared light, because we can't see it, it's not immaterial, it's matter. It's just invisible to us. So the material universe. But because these 4 laws have been basically accepted as the bedrock of understanding of physics, of energy transformation and the behavior of matter, energy, it's the same thing, matter and energy. The emphasis on entropy, which is the 2nd law of thermodynamics, all things move from orderly to disorderly, they fall apart, which is like the Buddha Dhamma, anicca. We are born, we get old, sick, die and rot. So we fall apart in the end. Everything's falling apart at the seams slowly. But before a thing can fall apart, it has to be constructed as a thing first. And that's not looked at in the 4 laws of thermodynamics. Because my 5th law of thermodynamics would It focuses on the constructive aspects, not the destructive aspects, not the entropy. It focuses on creation, not destruction. Yeah. And I believe that provides us with a much more comprehensive perspective, as I said, on the fundamental principles that govern our universe. So, using a fifth law, it would help us to understand construction instead of just entropy, yeah, creation, not just annihilation, yeah, or the creation of orderly things, such as two hydrogen molecules bumped together with one oxygen molecule. One hydrogen molecule bumps together with two oxygen molecules. No, H2 and O. Two hydrogens and one oxygen bump into each other. They become what we call water. It becomes H2O. It's not water because if it's below a certain temperature, it's solid, it's ice. And it's not ice, it's solid. And if it's above zero, then it's liquid. And then if it's above 100 degrees, then it's vapor, gas. But actually, hydrogen and oxygen are, well, we say they're gas. They can also be liquid. So they're just actually substances which can... Water is the only thing on the planet that it can exist without any special lab experiments or strange events in all three states, liquid, solid and gas, apart from maybe lava when we have a volcanic explosion and so. But actually all matter can exist in that. You have the three states of matter, some people say four, plasma. And so when things change, yeah, that's thermodynamics, yeah, heat is emitted through the vibration of energy, yeah, and the transmission of energy, and energy changes forms, yeah. So it becomes disorderly or orderly, yeah. But there is something that forms things into shapes, like DNA could not form without the force of construction and creation. So DNA can actually go into entropy and start falling apart at the seams. It doesn't actually. So entropy seems less valid with DNA than it does with a human body or a sandcastle that'll dissolve into the desert, yeah? So the emphasis on entropy of physicists and the measure of disorder and energy degradation, without focusing on how it got to be constructed in an orderly state in the first place, before it could start falling apart, has led to a skewed perception of energy dynamics completely. And so I'd like to address that imbalance, and I'd like to advocate for the recognition of the constructive force which is inherent in energy transformations, in all energy transformation, the constructive force. And it's a force that's fundamental in the fabric of the very fabric of the universe, right? So actually, the fifth law, I believe, should be called, by my imagination, construction and creativity, yeah? Because the existing four laws of thermodynamics primarily center on the principles of energy conservation, yeah? Energy conservation, heat transfer, and entropy. Yeah? And so whilst these laws describe pretty well energy's behavior, so they're quite apt at describing the behavior of energy in its many forms, in the many, energy exists in many forms, infinite forms almost. Despite this, the four laws, they emphasize the concept of energy degradation in a disproportionate manner, yeah? This disproportionate because they don't include what I call the fifth law of thermodynamics, which is construction and creativity, yeah? So, in contrast with the fifth law of thermodynamics, construction and creativity, we could spotlight the creative aspects of energy behavior, and we could focus on the processes that lead to the formation and organization of complex structures, yeah, such as us, the human being. We are an extremely complex structure. The brain itself is an extremely complex structure, yeah. And it falls into entropy, of course, after 30 years old, yeah? But when you're growing, what's happened? It's not falling into entropy, it's creating, yeah? There is the law of construction and creativity going on. And just as natural adaptation happens in evolution, that is also what I call the fifth law of thermodynamics, construction and creativity, yeah? Which is how a crab developed claws, yeah? And how the simplest first eye in the deep past, which couldn't see color, developed into a complex organism, yeah? That is the fifth law of thermodynamics, construction and creativity, yeah? So to focus on the creative aspects of energy behavior, yeah, that could lead us to the formation, that leads to the formation of complex organized structures, such as living beings like us, yeah, and these leaves behind me, and the trees in the jungle behind me, in this astral forest I'm sat in. Yeah, wouldn't you like to be here too? We'll learn how to meditate then, yeah, as the Buddha taught, not as some guru in America is teaching for $50 an hour or more. So by incorporating the fifth law of thermodynamics, yeah, construction and creativity, I believe we could evolve our understanding more into a more comprehensive framework and evolve physics, our concept of physics and understanding of thermodynamics into a much more comprehensive framework that acknowledges both the destructive and constructive roles of energy. Yeah. So just as entropy reflects that the tendency, it reflects the tendency of systems to de-evolve towards disorder, yeah? This new law, what I'm discovering, not creating, it exists. It exists since the beginning of time, not my creation. The fifth law of thermodynamics, construction and creativity, would illuminate the constructive tendencies of energy, which drive the emergence of order and complexity. The emergence of beings such as us, the evolution of beings, living beings and plants, yeah? And the complexity of everything which has evolved through the fifth law of thermodynamics, construction and creativity, yeah? And this has to be included. What's all this crap about 4 laws of thermodynamics? There's 5 at least, yeah? So, let's give you some examples, yeah, from nature. Nature abounds with examples of energy's creative potential. The formation of intricate snowflakes and the crystals. Look at them under a microscope. The growth of living organisms. DNA itself, how it constructs and does not fall into entropy. It evolves, yeah? And the emergence of galaxies and stars, yeah? The creation of stars in the star nurseries, yeah? And star systems, yeah? They all showcase the constructive force of energy, yeah? How cities evolve, yeah? How a mountain evolves, how it appears, yeah? How oceans are created, how glaciers carve canyons. That's creative and destructive in the same, it's destroying one thing to create another thing, which is my 6th law of thermodynamics, but that's for later. We'll stick with 5 right now, yeah? Which makes 2 into 1. It makes entropy and construction and creativity into 1. But right now we'll introduce you to the 5th law, yeah? So the implications of this, yeah? Well, not the implications, I'll get to that in a minute. I say that whilst the processes of construction and creation and entropy, they're inextricably linked with each other, yeah? One leads to the other, yeah? And one can't exist without the other. Entropy cannot begin until something was constructed in an orderly fashion so that it can fall apart into entropy. It has to first be created before it can be destroyed, yeah? And actually energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transformed. And there's your 6th law of thermodynamics. Think about it and wait for my next podcast on it. So the recognition of a 5th law of thermodynamics, yeah, I believe would extend our understanding, yeah? Of course it would. It'd extend our understanding of what? Yeah? Of energy dynamics, yeah? and of thermodynamics, which is energy dynamics. Yeah? And it would allow us to make much more accurate models and predictions and solutions and conclusions and understand the universe better. And from the development of advanced materials to the optimization of energy conversion processes, the inclusion of a constructive perspective could yield insights and applications for us humans to use and develop that have hitherto remained completely unexplored by the ignorance of mankind to accept more than four laws of thermodynamics, to not accept, but to refuse to look at more than four principles of thermodynamics, or laws if you want to call them that. So to conclude, in the light of this, which I found it a very, as GPT said when I got it to help me compose this concept, in the light of the profound and intricate interplay between energy's constructive and destructive tendencies, not laws, the inclusion of a fifth law of thermodynamics is both timely and imperative to the scientific world. Yeah? And if we acknowledge the dual nature of energy dynamics, the constructive creative nature and the destructive entropic nature, yeah, we can perhaps pave the way for a more holistic understanding of the universe's fundamental principles. Yeah? And so I call upon the scientific world and upon humankind and their own understanding. You don't need to be a scientist to conclude and see this. And it's part of enlightenment. So if you're a Buddhist, you'll be interested in, if you're not interested in understanding the world scientifically, and you only want to understand it spiritually, then you're not a complete Buddhist, because the Buddha was a scientist more than a mystic. Yeah, he looked at things very scientifically and provable, not just believe in anything blindly. In fact, he warned against that. So I'd like to call upon you all, and especially the scientific community, to embrace, as GPT likes to invite us to do, the need for a comprehensive thermodynamic framework. So a new theory of thermodynamics, or to include a fifth law, and what I will get on to explain as the sixth law in another further podcast, or vlog should better call it, and have a scientific framework of looking at thermodynamics and energy behavior, which reflects the true essence of energy's creative potential, not its destructive potential. And that's funny how science wants us all to see its destructive or entropic potential, but not its creative potential. What is the creator within this? We can see what is the destroyer, but what is the creator? You won't find it in the four laws of thermodynamics. Why not? You've got the destroyer in there. It's called entropy. So let's introduce the fifth law of creation, constructivity and creativity. Yeah? Ajahn Spencer speaking to all of you, and hopefully some people in the scientific world might pay attention to this or understand it, and maybe one day we'll have 5 or 6 laws of thermodynamics. And if not, whoever understands this might find out what Tesla understood, which is the nature of energy and how it works. Ajahn Spencer with some quantum Dhamma, signing off.